walkway. It is one of the best walks you can take when visiting our island called Manhattan. When on the island of Manhattan, should you find yourself on the High Line, please be sure to stop into the Chelsea Marketplace, which is right under the High Line. For a real New York authentic marketplace experience, visit Chelsea Market. Guess what? What? Guess what? What? I'm going to keep saying it until that guy says what. Guess what? What? He didn't still say what, but I won't say it again right now. Did you guys know that the Titanic was headed here to Chelsea Piers on the left side of the boat? This would have been the final destination of the Titanic had it not hit an iceberg on New Year's Eve and sink in the Atlantic Ocean. This is Chelsea Piers, New York City Sports and Athletics Complex. If you look on the other side of Chelsea Piers, you'll see a white glass building that looks like a giant block of ice. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see that? Of course you can. That building is called the Iceberg Building. It is a memorial to the Titanic. Guess what? What? Guess what? What? I say that a lot, so get used to it. Guess what? What? Did you guys know that in 2009, there was an airplane flying over the skies of New York, and the pilot of that plane lost complete power. So he had to make a quick decision. Either crash the plane into the city and kill millions of people, or try his best to catch the plane right here into the Hudson River. Guess what? What? That pilot did something that had never, ever been done before in the history of aviation. He successfully landed the plane right here, exactly where we are on the Hudson River. We who live here in New York City, we call that day Miracle on the Hudson. The reason why we call that day Miracle on the Hudson, there was 134 passengers on that plane. Not one single passenger received a single scratch. What's the captain's name? You know the story, and I went through all that for nothing? Well, that happened right here where we are. Look to the left side of the boat, ladies and gentlemen, directly to the left. You'll see some concrete structures. I call them concrete tulips because they remind me of the tulip flower. Well, there's 205 of them. After they put them all together, they created 4.5 acres of the most amazing park you will ever visit. There's no other park like it anywhere else in the world. It's the newest park on the island, and it's a public space, so it's absolutely free to go onto the Little Island. That is the name of this park, the Little Island. Grab yourself a slice of pizza or a couple of hot dogs and park yourself for a park-like experience that you'll never ever find anywhere else in the world. Guess what? What? Guess what? What? Guess what? What? If you're having your meals, if you're eating at restaurants in the Times Square area, if you're having your meals, if you're eating at restaurants around the Rockefeller Center area, guess what? You're paying way too much money to eat in our city. No one who lives here in New York City would ever go to those areas to dine out. But we do go to this neighborhood on the left side of the boat called Greenwich Village. Greenwich Village is the most desirable place to live when living on the island of Manhattan. You name a restaurant, you will find a restaurant that serves food from that country in this neighborhood. Greenwich Village is the home of jazz clubs, blues, salsa, merengue, techno, country, western, hip-hop, reggae, drag shows, you name it, it all happens here in Greenwich Village. Greenwich Village is also the home of Taylor Swift, Macaulay Culkin. Bruce, are you a Taylor Swift fan? Guess what? She lives at 54 Cornelia Street. You gotta go take a picture of 54 Cornelia Street. Taylor Swift, Macaulay Culkin, Bruce Willis, Whoopi Goldberg, Demi Moore, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, Queen Latifah, Sarah Jessica Parker, and many, many others all live here in Greenwich Village. Greenwich Village is where I do not live. Another great neighborhood that you'll find here on the left side of the boat is called SoHo. SoHo stands for South of Houston Street. If you're from Texas, you probably say Houston, but here we say Houston. S-O for South, H-O for Houston gives SoHo its name, SoHo. SoHo is the home of New York City art galleries. More art galleries in SoHo than any other neighborhood in all of New York City. SoHo is a cobblestone street neighborhood. Every store that you can imagine that you've ever heard of can be found in SoHo. And guess what? Wow. SoHo is also another great neighborhood to have a meal or two in. Great, great restaurants in SoHo. Guess what? Guess what? Guess what? Did you guys know that Chinatown is the oldest community in New York City? The African Americans, the Italians, the Irish, the Greek, the Polish, the Germans, the French, the Hebrews, the Hindus, the Muslims, the Portuguese, the Puerto Ricans, the Dominicans, the Mexicans, the Brazilians, the Russians, the Ukrainians, the Polish, have all relocated their communities many times throughout the history of New York. Did I say the Koreans? But the Chinese have always remained in the same exact location since the early 1700s, making Chinatown the oldest community in New York City. When visiting Chinatown, ladies and gentlemen, there's one street and one street only that you should go to. Be sure to visit Mott Street, M-O-T-T. Mott Street is the first, oldest, and most authentic street in Chinatown. And guess what? What? Chinatown is also the only place in the United States where you can get a Rolex watch for $25. Visit Chinatown, ladies and gentlemen. Another great neighborhood. Now look really closely at these buildings here on the left side of the boat. Look how well maintained these buildings are. Look how clean they are. Look how beautiful these buildings are. This area is called Tribeca. This is where the super rich and the super discreet live. Tribeca was once the home of John F. Kennedy Jr. and his wife Caroline. When they died in that plane crash, they lived in this neighborhood. Robert De Niro, who's lived here at Tribeca for over 40 years, is also the president and the founder of the Tribeca Film Festival. The newest couple to purchase a home here in Tribeca just happens to be the most famous, most successful, and most powerful couple in the music industry. Who am I talking about? Beyonce doesn't come alone. What's the name of the couple? Beyonce and Jay-Z. That is correct. If you look to the left side of the boat, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see a long brown building. Look in the sky over that building. You see that funny looking building that looks like a Jenga game? Guess what? Wow. That building is called the Jenga building. Look at the glass going around the top two floors, not the rooftop, but the top two floors with glass going all the way around them. That is the New York City home of Beyonce and Jay-Z. The building is called the Jenga building. Guess what? Did you guys know that in 1973, when the city of New York dug up the ground to build the foundation for the World Trade Center Twin Towers, the city dug up thousands and thousands of tons of rock. This rock is called schist rock. If you go to Central Park, this is the only place on the island where you can still see the schist rock, which is the foundation of the island. But when they dug up all that rock to build the World Trade Center Twin Towers, they laid it here on the left side of the boat, and they made a massive landfill. And on top of that landfill, they built this magnificent neighborhood called Battery Park City. Battery Park City is the only part of the island built on a landfill. Scientists have predicted, should there ever be a major earthquake in New York City, Battery Park City just simply would not survive. But guess what? In the 400-year history of our island, we have never ever had a major earthquake, so the people here at Battery Park City sleep quite well at night. Battery Park City is the New York City home of Leonardo DiCaprio, supermodel Tyra Banks, and Wendy Williams. Shh. 9/11. 9/11. Thank you so much in joining me in a moment of silence for the 3,000 people that died that day right here on the left side of the boat. When those two towers came falling down after being attacked by terrorists. Every single thing that you see here on the left side of the boat either had severe damage or 100% covered in ashes. It was the worst day in the history of America. But guess what? We're Americans. And no matter what you look like, no matter where you stand in this country, if they knock you down, we will get right back up, stand taller, stronger, and even more powerful than ever. And we sent that message to the world when we rebuilt this area and completed the Freedom Tower, which stands 1,776 feet tall. It's the crown of America and the jewel of New York. Guys, look to the right side of the boat. You'll see a clock. That's the largest outdoor clock in America. It's called the Colgate clock. The Colgate clock sits where the Colgate factory once stood before they moved west. When the Colgate factory packed up and left this area, they left the clock behind. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because the Colgate family knew that millions of tourists would look across the river, see the clock, and realize it's time to brush your teeth. That was stupid. If you continue to look to your right, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see a red building with a small green tower on it. That's the Central Railway Terminal, oldest standing train terminal in America. When millions of immigrants were coming to America by ship, once they became American citizens, they would come here to the Central Railway Terminal to take trains going all points west. But not all of the immigrants during that time in the early 1800s could afford the train ticket. So they would hide themselves on the train. When the train would get to its first stop just a couple of miles away, they would find those immigrants who did not have tickets, and they would refer to them as hobos. And the reason why they would call them hobos, because they would find them at the Hoboken train station, giving hobos their name, hobos. Look to the left. Just behind us on the left side of the boat, I'm pointing to it if you can see me, there's a building with 6 different levels on it. Each one of those levels represent 1 million people. Each level represents 1 million people, 6 levels. How many people are we talking about? This building is a memorial to the 6 million innocents. It is a memorial to the 6 million innocent Jews that were murdered during the Holocaust. There are 2 museums in New York City that you must visit. If you don't go to any other museum, you must visit the Schomburg Museum in Harlem and the Jewish Heritage Museum here on the south end of the island. If you continue to look to the left, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see a long white building sitting on a pier. That pier is called Pier A. Pier A is the oldest standing pier in America. It was built by the Dutch. Guess what? When the Dutch arrived here on this island, in the year 1624, they encountered 2 Indian tribes, the natives, the Lenape tribe and the Iroquois tribe. No matter what the Dutch did, no matter what the Indians did, they just could not find common ground and learn to live together. The Indians did not want the Dutch on their land, so they used any means necessary to get rid of them. It didn't work. So guess what the Dutch did? Guess what the Dutch did? They built a wall. They built a massive wall. This wall went from river to river. The purpose of the wall was to protect the Dutch from the Indians, but the Dutch had a greater fear. They had a greater fear. The Dutch knew that one day the British would arrive. 84 years after that wall went up, the British finally arrived on the north end of the island. They conquered they made peace with those 2 Indian tribes. They came down here to the south end of the island. They conquered the Dutch, and guess what they did next? You know that wall I told you the Dutch built? Well, the British knocked that wall down, named that space Wall Street, and that was the beginning of the history, that was the beginning of the documented history of our island. This is the Wall Street area. Look to the right side of the boat, guys. You'll see a round building. This round building is called Castle Williams. Governor's Island was first occupied by the Lenape tribe, then by the U.S. Army, then the Navy, and then the Coast Guard. That round building is called Castle Williams. At one time, Castle Williams was a military prison for draft dodgers. For those of you who are not familiar with that term, a draft dodger is an American man or woman that refuses to serve in the military. They'll do everything to dodge that going to the military. And they would throw draft dodgers in Castle Williams. Guess who served time there? Supposed to say who? Guess who served time there? Walt Disney from Disneyland. He was a draft dodger, so they threw him in Castle Williams. Guess what he did while he was there? He wrote his business plan for Disneyland. He had many months to write the best business plan in the history of our country, because Disneyland is a worldwide phenomenon. You see, children, going to jail is not such a bad thing after all. That's not true. That's the only lie that I tell you today. Governor's Island behind us, ladies and gentlemen, is a historical island. There's restaurants there. There's a couple of cocktail lounges. There's a health spa. There's a swimming pool. You can take a history tour. There's bicycle rentals. You can also go camping on Governor's Island. And we'll see that campsite as we return back this way. Guess what? Guess what time it is? You're supposed to say, what time is it? Guess what time it is? I love you guys. It's time to unlock New York City. When I say unlock New York City, that means I'm going to give you suggestions, tips, and recommendations. Look to the left side of the boat. You see a word ship. You can see people now entering the ship. This ship is called the Staten Island Ferry. It holds 3,000 tourists. And guess what? It's absolutely free to ride the Staten Island Ferry. It does not get as close to the statue as we will today, but guess what? Here's the tip. Not only is it free to ride the Staten Island Ferry, you want to do it at nighttime when it's dark outside, because everything that your eyes will see with us today, you'll see it all lit up in lights. It's absolutely magical, and it is the perfect way to end a day here on our island. Ride the Staten Island Ferry. It leaves every 30 minutes from Battery Park at the Staten Island Ferry Terminal, and it's absolutely free. Guys, you see these helicopters? This is the East Side Heliport. This is also the presidential heliport. Here is where the president lands when he comes to New York City. He gets in an airplane called Air Force One, flies to JFK Airport after former President John F. Kennedy. Then from there, the president gets in a helicopter, and that helicopter lands here. Guess what? You too can take a helicopter ride from here. A helicopter ride is $200 for 15 minutes. $200 for 15 minutes, and it's worth every single penny. I guarantee you. If it's in your travel budget, take the helicopter ride. It's $200 for 15 minutes, and guess what? I have discount tickets. If you get the ticket from me, it's $199. All right, guys, get your cameras out. Go to your cell phone, get your cameras ready, and put your camera on zoom. Here's why. I am going to guide your eyes and your cameras to the second oldest church in America. If you notice, the captain of the boat just slowed the boat down. His name is Captain Ivan. Everyone say, thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
He slowed the boat down because you're only going to have 5 seconds to see it. Here we go. Take your cameras out now. Look to the left side of the boat. You'll see a building with green windows, and inside of those windows, directly across from us, you see little white lights. And then you see and then you move forward, you see a huge open space, and then there's a white building. You want to zoom your camera, that's right, young lady, you want to zoom your camera into that huge open space right there. You want to zoom your camera into that huge open space, and in just a few seconds, you're going to see the second oldest standing church in America. When you see the church, scream out really loud, I see it. Okay, keep looking. Here we go. Get your camera ready now, because you're only going to have a few seconds to see it. Don't wait. Thank you, Captain. Keep looking. By the way, that street that you're looking across is the most famous street in the world. That's Wall Street. When you see the church, say, I see it. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. There it is. What do you say? I see it.
I see it.
You see it?
I see it.
That church is the second oldest church in America. It's called Trinity Church. Trinity Church is surrounded by a cemetery where you'll find several signers of the Declaration of Independence. And once again, that street you looked across is Wall Street. Guess what? I told you where I do not live. Welcome to my neighborhood, ladies and gentlemen. Please look to the left side of the boat. This is the South Street Seaport. This is where I grew up. This is where my family still remains. This is a historical district. If you're over 21, say, I am. cocktails, excellent place to party at night. The ship that you see here is called the Waving Tree Liverpool. It's an old antique fisherman ship. It's one of the ships that once brought seafood into the New York City harbor. The reason why we call this area the South Street Seaport, because when I was a little boy, this is where all the seafood would come into our city, making it the Seaport. The green building that you see here at Pier 17, this pier was completely destroyed during Hurricane Sandy. If you like to have a fine dining experience, a New York City fine dining experience, come to Pier 17. Some of the most expensive restaurants in New York City can be found here. They're all exquisite. I've eaten at a couple of them. Behind Pier 17, there's a building called the Tin Building. The Tin Building is where you'll find many, many gourmet eateries all under one roof. And if you look behind Pier 17, you can see the Tin Building. It's the white building with the dark square windows. Guess what? What? Guess what? What? The biggest mistake you can all make when visiting New York City, the number one biggest mistake you can all make when visiting New York City is to make the decision not to go to Brooklyn. Every human being should visit Brooklyn. I'm not going to let you make that mistake. The captain's not going to let you make that mistake. Ladies and gentlemen, please look to the right side of the boat. Welcome to the beautiful Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn has the largest population of all 5 boroughs. 2.7 million people live in Brooklyn. The White House, the lighthouse that you see there with the tower on it, is the oldest ice cream parlor in America. It's called the Brooklyn Ice Cream Factory, where you see these colorful flowers here at this barge just under the Brooklyn Bridge where that white boat is. That's the Brooklyn Cafe, a very, very elegant, long-time restaurant here in New York City. Jackets required for men. Behind the lighthouse where the Brooklyn Ice Cream Factory is number 1 Front Street, the very first building built in Brooklyn in the 1800s. Today that building is the home of Grimaldi's Pizza. Also, ladies and gentlemen, this area is called Brooklyn Heights. It's a historical district. Long before the Brooklyn Bridge was built, this was the very first neighborhood on the island. The Brooklyn Bridge, look up, look up, look up. You're looking at one of the world's most iconic bridges, the Brooklyn Bridge, which was built in 1886. The very first bridge to connect Manhattan to Brooklyn. When the Brooklyn Bridge was built, no one would go onto the bridge for many, many months because someone told a lie. Someone told a huge lie. They said that the Brooklyn Bridge would fall, that it was weak, it was not safe. So no one would go onto the bridge for many months until Pete, turn around, look behind us. This is our photographer. He's here to take your photos here at the Brooklyn Bridge. Great takeaway souvenir. No one would go onto the Brooklyn Bridge for many months until P.T. Bonham from Bonham and Bailey Circus took Jumbo the elephant and 50 other elephants across the Brooklyn Bridge to prove to the world that the bridge was not and would not fall. Guys, look to the right side of the boat. This is where you want to come to if you visit Brooklyn. This area is called Dumbo. This is a historical district. Cobblestone Street neighborhood. Loads of restaurants, rooftop lounges, speakeasies for you adults. Tons and tons of nightlife, great daytime dining opportunities. The carousel that you see there is called the Jane Carousel. It's the oldest wooden carousel in America. It was built in 1922 in Philadelphia. It arrived here to the Brooklyn waterfront in 2007, where it will always remain. If you look to the left side of the boat, ladies, the left side of the boat, you're looking at the Brooklyn Bridge. Here on the right side of the boat is the Manhattan Bridge. If you look all the way up the river is the Williamsburg Bridge. Guess what? We have a nickname for these 3 bridges, young lady. We call them the BMW bridges, like the car, BMW. B for Brooklyn Bridge, M for Manhattan Bridge, and W for Williamsburg Bridge. Guys, Barris, where are you? Barris is our house photographer. He's a professional photographer. Let him take your photo here at the Brooklyn Bridge or at the Statue of Liberty. He takes really great photos. They're very, very inexpensive, and it's a great souvenir takeaway. Guess what? I'll see you guys at the Statue of Liberty. Use this time to go downstairs, get yourself a refreshment, use the restrooms, let Barris take your photo, and prepare yourself for the grand finale. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. It's time to unlock New York City. I have a question for you guys. Are you listening, famous Luke? I have a question for you guys. Can you please raise your hand if you're using the New York City subway system? Oh my God, a lot of you. I haven't been in that hole in over 10 years, and I'll probably never ever go down there again. Guess what? Did you guys know, let's unlock New York. Did you guys know that every time you swipe your card to go onto the subway, the computer automatically puts a free transfer to a city bus? And guess what? Our city buses on the island of Manhattan is how you should be getting around our city. Let's unlock New York City. I'll tell you why. Many of you are only here for 3, 4, 5 days. Very few of you are here for more than 5 days. There's no way, in no way is that enough time to see all there is to see and do all the things you might want to do. There's just too many options. When you ride the subways, you're underground, going underneath amazing attractions, amazing things of interest. And you're looking out the window into a dark tunnel. When you ride the buses, you see things out the window, and you lady can say to your grandma, "Hey grandma, look at that. Let's get off here." You lose that opportunity when you ride the subways. If you ride our buses, I promise you, you will see more and you will do more. You'll have more options. Guess what? Did you also know that if you don't get onto a subway, and let's say you just get onto a bus, every time you swipe your card to get on the bus, guess what? The computer will automatically put a free transfer for a connecting bus. All the buses run up and down all the avenues. Most of the buses come every 5 to 7 minutes, and it's truly the best way for tourists to get around our city. Of course, you want to ride the subway at least 1 or 2 times to experience the largest mass transportation service in all of America, but use our buses. Those Metro cards that you have, you can also use them on the buses. If you don't have a Metro card, you can use your credit card or your debit card and just tap your way all around the city above ground. You always want to be above ground. I have another question. Can you please raise your hand if you're using taxis to get around the city? Look, the rich people are raising their hands, y'all. Luke, are you rich? You can't possibly be rich. You haven't lived long enough to be rich. Maybe your dad is. That is the most expensive way to get around the city. That is the most expensive way to get around the city. First of all, to get into a taxi, it costs $9 just to sit, $9.30 now, just to sit into a taxi. And I guarantee you, if you take a taxi on our island during the day, you will definitely be stuck in traffic. You might as well be on a bus. That is correct. Now, I had the opportunity to speak to a few of you, and I can tell you like to go out and have a few drinks at night, right? So you like to go out and have a few drinks at night. But guess what? That's what I do when I go on vacation. I drink a lot when I go on vacation. I love a cocktail when I go on vacation. If you're in our city and you decide to go out at nighttime and have a few drinks, that is the perfect time to take a taxi or an Uber safely back to your hotel or to your Airbnb. Otherwise, ladies and gentlemen, use our buses. Guess what? There are 3 foods. These 2 people cannot answer the question because they know. What are the top 3 foods you must try when visiting New York City? Name one. Who said that? I said you can't give the answer. You live here. Say it again, though. Say it again. Say it again.
Pizza.
Pizza. That is correct. Did you guys know there is a pizza place here in New York City that most New Yorkers know about? All the celebrities know about it, and I'm going to share it with you. It's called Joe's Pizza. Now listen very carefully. Let's unlock New York. If you Google Joe's Pizza, you're going to see mini Joe's Pizza. But here's the one you want to go to. Take a note. You want to go to the Joe's Pizza in Greenwich Village. By the way, Greenwich Village is where you should be having most of your meals. You want to go to the Joe's Pizza in Greenwich Village at 7 Carmine Street. 7 Carmine Street is where you'll find the original Joe's Pizza. It's a classic, traditional, nostalgic New York City pizza parlor. There's a line to get in Joe's Pizza. Guess what? Let's unlock New York. When you're on that line to get in Joe's Pizza, the one thing you must do is look at the faces of the other people on the line, because you never know who's going to be on the line to get a slice of pizza at Joe's Pizza. Excuse me. Joe's Pizza Line is a great place and it's been a well-known place for celebrity sightings. So pizza number one, what's number two? Hamburger. It's not a hamburger. I'll give you a hint. It's long and it sits in a bun. The hot dog, that is correct. Did you guys know that the hot dog was invented in Brooklyn, New York? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. The very first place a hot dog was ever sold was in Coney Island, and Coney Island is now open until next week. Coney Island will close on Memorial Day, will be the last day, so you're in time to visit Coney Island, the second oldest amusement park in the world. And guess what? If you go to Coney Island, there is a roller coaster there called the Cyclone. The Cyclone is the scariest roller coaster you will ever ride. It's 100% made out of wood, so it shakes a lot, and it is the oldest roller coaster in America. If you go to Coney Island, there's two things you must do. Ride the Cyclone and definitely get a hot dog at Nathan's Famous Hot Dog, where they have the National Hot Dog Eating Contest every year. Guess what? Here's another tip. If you go to Coney Island, have the hot dog after you ride the Cyclone. So pizza's number one, and hot dog's number two. What's number three? I'll give you a hint. It's round, it's not, and it looks like a donut, but it's not a donut. Absolutely, the bagel. What's your name, young lady? Jenny, where are you from? You're from Manchester, England. Welcome to New York. Are you having a great time? Where in Manchester are you from? I've been all over England, and I'm so sorry to hear you're from South Manchester. I'm just kidding. South Manchester's a wonderful place. She said bagel. Guess what? Did you guys know that New York City has the best bagels in the country? You want to know why? You want to know why? You want to know why? It's our tap water. Every single year, National Geographic goes around the whole country and they test the tap water in all the cities. And for the last 30 years, New York City has come up number one for the best drinking water in the whole country. And guess what? That's our secret ingredient to our bagels. So have our pizza, have a hot dog, and tomorrow morning, you want to get your bagels first thing in the morning, have a New York City bagel. Ladies, are you listening? I'm about to piss the husbands off. There is a store here in New York City that you should all go shopping at. The guys should go shopping there as well. The entire store takes an entire square block. I'm not talking about Macy's. I am not talking about Macy's. The store has 4 massive floors of all name brand and designer clothing. And guess what? The entire store is up to 70% off. It's the #1 shopping destination here in New York City, and you must go there. Should you find yourself in this store, go to the visitor's desk on the main floor, show your passport or your driver's license to prove that you're visiting our city, that you don't live here, and they will give you a mystery gift card. All of the mystery gift cards have anywhere between $5 and $500. The name of the store is Century 21. It's across the street from the 9/11 Memorial, and it's definitely a place to shop when shopping in New York City. Guess what? I have one final question for you guys. Did you guys enjoy the tour? Yes. I don't believe you. I don't believe you, but I really want to believe you. I really, really, really want to believe you, so I'll ask you again. Did you guys enjoy the tour? Yes. So did I. So did I. I'm going to leave you guys with this. If you haven't heard anything that I said today, if you struggled with understanding what I said, I humbly ask each and every one of you to please hear these words. I ask it from my heart. I've been doing this now for 36 years, and I love being a tour guide over the course of the last 36 years, but my time as a tour guide is coming to an end soon. 36 years is a long time. My time as a tour guide is soon coming to an end, but there's something else that I do that I love more than anything else that I've ever done. I also work with the homeless people here on our island. I have dedicated the last 23 years of my life serving my homeless neighbors. Some of them have been doctors, lawyers, nurses, politicians, school teachers. I met a boat captain a couple of times. They are the most amazing people that I've ever met, and they have the most incredible stories, and I like to ask you to help me make them feel just a little better. And what I ask of you is real simple. While visiting our city, ladies and gentlemen, if a homeless person says something to you, if one of my homeless neighbors says something to you, please do not ignore them. Don't ignore them. No one likes to be ignored. It's a horrible feeling. Do not have eye contact with them. Do not start conversations with them, but just politely nod your head that you heard them say something to you and keep right on moving. I promise you, they will appreciate that, and it'll make them feel just a little bit better that someone acknowledged them. In the 23 years that I've been serving the homeless people here in New York City, never once have I given anyone money, not one time. But if I'm on my way here or wherever I'm going, if someone says to me, "Can you please buy me something to eat?" In that moment, that person becomes the most important person in the world to me, just for that moment. I'll stop what I'm doing, I'll put where I'm going on hold, I'll grab a pizza, a hot dog, a pretzel, a bagel, or maybe even just an apple. I won't look at them, I won't say anything to them, I just give it to them, and I'll walk away knowing that for the next hour or two, there's one less hungry person in our city. There's two things that I believe, and this is what I really want you to hear. The first thing that I believe is that no one should be begging on the streets for food. We throw food in the garbage on a daily basis all around the world. And here's the other thing that I believe, and I'll leave you guys with this. There's one thing, are you listening? You're famous, you gotta listen. There's one thing that we can all be so successful at. There's one thing that we can be great at. Every single one of us can be so great at it, no matter where you live, no matter how much money you have in your pocket, no matter what your situation is. There's one thing that we can all be so great at, and it's real simple, ladies and gentlemen. Just be kind to others. My name is Michael Spence. I hope you enjoyed my tour, and most of all, I hope you fall in love with our city. Thank you so much for joining us.